Okay, okay, can you hear us? Sorry guys, we have a little bit of the dogs in the house. It's like the pretty much many people here, and it's a big pleasure to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming. So many amazing people. We currently in Temple, San Francisco. That's the part of Future Factory. So I want to say thank you to the space itself. SINT, our project is the part of Future Factory as well. It's a great location here downtown SF by LinkedIn building where we have our office space. And I just want to say thank you for hosting us here. Future Factory also has locations in Denver and LA. And we're opening location, LA location in September. So I would like to welcome our super cool guests, and we're going to start our panel on the MCP and privacy and MCP world. So I want to give the microphone to beautiful Olga that's going to be leading this and this panel and moderating. So
thank you, Illia. Thank you, Illia, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. And good to see you all and some familiar faces. Zach, Matthew. Amazing. So today we're going to have a conversation about privacy and AI agents, how we can have agents that are not only smart but also secure. And let's start with some introductions. So we got a few teams here, ZetaChain, right? We can start with
yeah,
ZetaChain.
we can start. I mean, I can start and go first, and we're just going to pass the mic.
Yeah.
My name is Illia. I'm founder of SINT. SINT is a synthetic intelligence. We build a multi-agent platform where you can launch autonomous agents on chain that also have confidentiality in it and can operate on multi-chain. We integrate in multiple skills and MCPs, of course, where we're bridging it as a skill that execute the command for the end customer. The beauty of SINT is first of all, is design layer, UI, UX, avatar, and then integration layer, and then also security. I'm going to pass a microphone to Dylan.
Cool. And hi, I'm Dylan Kawalec. I work with Phala Network, and yeah, I'm the head of developer relations. I focus on like security for applications like AI, and yeah, I would say we're happy to just open the discussions about confidential compute and like the meaning of a private AI, and we all got together really randomly about this subject, and I think it's going to be cool to talk about the future of confidential MCP, and so yeah, I'm excited for this.
Amazing.
Thanks, Dylan. Hey guys, my name is Matthew Karsten. I'm the DevRel at ZetaChain. And my goal at ZetaChain, building universal applications, is to design the experiences that developers want to be a part of. Like this one right here, where you guys are all experiencing this space, seeing the kind of opportunities that we can create here. And not just at Future Factory, but with ZetaChain all over the world. And that comes from working with developers like Illia and Dylan on a regular basis, and coming to the conclusion that this is a lifestyle and this is the path that we've chose forward for Web3, and we want to make that the most innovative, inspiring, kind of experience that you can be a part of, so that you want to keep building, so you're continued to be inspired and just might come up with the next killer app.
And my name is Olga Vox. I'm a CEO and the founder of Vox Ventures. I've been in the blockchain space for the past 10 years, and I am fascinated by all the new developments and founders that are building on chain. And I guess my first question would be to ZetaChain, since you guys started.
What you got for me?
So tell me, what can we build on your chain that we cannot build on the other chains?
So ZetaChain is meant to be universal. This stems from what we previously know as like multi-chain or omni-chain. It took maybe 2 years since we first heard those words for it to really sink in what that meant. And that came from developments from projects like Wormhole that you might be familiar with, or Layer 0. And what we intend to do, and what we are doing very actively, is this is a new stage of growth for Web3. This is a Web3 company launched out of a need that is backed by a San Francisco company, very much in a startup accelerator style, much different than the degens building in their mom's basement, right? So there's a lot of BD and research and marketing and very talented people behind this operation. And so our goal is to make interoperability much more accessible to developers, for the community to build, so that they can start coming up with their complex use cases, creating their smart contract logic to start making any chain to any chain a reality, and really abstracting away from the complexities of the smart contract by using ZetaChain, so you can focus on the experience and the functionality of your application, growing your user base, and launching a killer app, right? Thanks, Olga.
That's awesome. Thank you. Dylan, I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Can you explain Phala Network?
Yeah. So Phala Network is back then it started as a blockchain on Polkadot, but it's transitioned into Phala Cloud. Originally, the idea was to create smart contracts to build confidential smart contracts using confidential virtual machines. And so over time, the team at Phala has developed a lot of research in the overall use of confidential environments, but then democratizing the actual stack itself so that everyone has accessibility to confidential hardware. It's important that we build, like a safe AGI future, and so I would say our mission is to build that before 2027 as like a goal. But what we do is effectively we serve as confidential compute. Many programs run on the network, private AIs, lots of different confidential like defense in depth strategies, and we're even exploring things like HIPAA compliance and SOC2, and trying to play around with like launching zero knowledge virtual machines so that we can actually create rollups and all sorts of other applications. It runs practically any program using something called the D stack. And so this is known as the democratized stack. And so it is a open source architecture. And so we're trying to bring developers in to learn about how to make confidential compute more popular, hopefully, before things get out of control with AI, which is what we're trying to avoid.
And why do we need confidential compute? Like, what is it in a nutshell?
It's, well, it's so that we can not necessarily remain private, but to remain confidential in the sense that information, whether or not it's perfectly hiding or perfectly binding, we need verifiability is the key. So you might be able to hide something, you might be able to not see something, or keep something completely anonymous, but what we need to do is verify the information was actually there and present, even if we can't see the information. So if we're proving something, but we don't necessarily have the ability to see it, like a private key or like a private set of information, like a password, then you want to still prove that inside of that environment, a black box, we can still verify information that might be confidential. So it's all about verifiability, and that's how I would set the difference there.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Illia, what problem does SINT solve?
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I just want to add a couple of things that I didn't ask. We're streaming on X right now and to many socials, and currently I've been setting up the screens, and we have really amazing brains behind, so it was not just like fully random that we got here, because it's a pleasure for us to build the use case with Phala and ZetaChain, because that's one of the problems we actually solve. Answering your question is the ability for the agent to do cross-chain transaction, being fully autonomous and fully secure. I think one of the biggest problem that just came up in people's mind, that everything you put in GPT, any data set that you put there, used by the LLM to scale its own data set. So you pretty much educating constantly GPT with your own data sets, and helping others to use your data. So, and another just leak happened that when you share your chat with somebody, your GPT chat with somebody, it's becoming an SEO friendly and searchable in Google. So that's kind of like another like trick, right? So like many users don't even knew about it, that this thing could happen. So coming together with Phala and ZetaChain, we have a perfect match. So we building a confidential AI agent that you can communicate securely. Everything you say is going to be run in TEE in a private environment, and data set is not going to be leaking to anybody. It's a perfect use case for B2B, for privacy. Imagine that you're a doctor, you're a psychologist, using your own IP that you don't want to be shared with anybody. And that the AI you run and you can trust on top of your software, on top of your integrations, and on top of everything you run to AI. Yeah, I think that's the core I think feature right now where we go into with SINT.
Amazing. So you essentially building very private personal agents that are going to follow you all over internet. You don't need to reset or restart it to update your cookies, right? You just can use it all the time.
Yes, so imagine that you are an IP owner of, let's say you wrote a book, right? And that book, you want it to be owned only by you or only the close circle of people who can get access to information. And they can get access to this information only through your agent. This information couldn't be accessible through LLM, through GPT, or from any other source. And now imagine that that data source is stored super securely, where agent could be executing trades or sales on your behalf fully autonomously. Imagine that he's having your avatar, your face, your look, and then he represents yourself, and this is your private IP that you want to be an owner of.
Oh, wow. So why is it important that it stays private?
Because the privacy is the key, right? So I'm talking to many people, many clients. So for example, I have this well famous like a psychologist slash healer slash I don't know. He's just like help people, right? And he has his own methodology that he uses. So yeah, shaman as well, right? So he has his own methodology that he used to
AI shaman.
yeah. Then we actually building that. We're using fully like SINT framework
That
to
sounds much better than AI agent, right? It's
Yeah,
like
of course.
maybe consider
Of course,
rebranding it as AI shaman.
Yeah.
Welcome to San
Actually,
Francisco, guys.
No joke. I registered domain AI. I registered domain already. Ayahuasca. So like, trust me, couple of steps ahead. But like he has his own IP that he wants to be accessible only through his applications. He don't want to put the data sets to LLM because now you can access the same data sets through ChatGPT, and there is no point for him to own it and be like, you know, everyone can use it, right? So he can monetize it in that way, and that's his private IP that we can store super securely.
Oh wow! So where is this all going? What do you think like is coming in the future? You can create your digital avatar / AI agent, populate it with your personal data, monetize it as an IP, and license it out for other people to use.
Of course, yeah. There's like a full agentic economy. So like, imagine that you're an influencer, right? With the current abilities, you can fully automate the content creation for yourself, obviously, through utilizing agentic RAG, content generation, image generation, video generation, script creation, and put it together on everyday posting. But now imagine that you want to have this content to be unique and not matching with everyone. So how you want to run it securely that only your data sets used and nobody copying them.
On blockchain.
Of course, and you can have your own token.
So where does the blockchain come in place?
Blockchain in this case does, like for example, integration with ZetaChain, that's what
Yeah.
we actually did, give us ability to send transaction with one command on a multiple chain. So you don't need to have 5, 10 different blockchains connected to it. Like we use Zeta for the transaction, and user can say a simple command, send the transaction, send or swap Solana to Bitcoin, for example. And you don't need to have any other third parties, any other D-apps, no fragmented experience. It just happened immediately. And now imagine that autonomous agent does that on its own behalf.
That sounds awesome. Do you guys want to get a little more technical and ask how ZetaChain and Phala Network making this happen? Yeah?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's nerd out.
Let's nerd out, yeah.
So yeah, tell me, Dylan, what's your angle here? How do you make
On
this
privacy?
happen? Yeah, on private agents.
I'm curious, the blockchain approach, Matt. Actually, first, I want to know what your approach to like running a blockchain, using TEEs. What's the, the utility of a TEE in your opinion? Because I learned a lot from, our talks. So I want to.
Yeah, I was going to say, you already know the answer to that, Dylan. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
So the angle with a TAE is like, okay, if you're building something truly innovative, right, that your DApp is an original idea, this is a new concept that hasn't been introduced to the world yet, in the enterprise world, they would call that proprietary IP, right? That's information that is supposed to belong to you, and you would like to be the one to take that information to market, right? Not big tech, not the walled garden, right? The only true way to accomplish that goal is to make sure that what you build is built in complete privacy. There is a reason why they call them stealth startups, right? And why you didn't hear about it until all of a sudden it's everywhere all at once, overnight, right? And people go, wow, that came up out of nowhere. No, it didn't. They've been building for quite a long time, right? You just didn't get to see it. And that's why they had such a big impact on the industry when they launched, is because everybody else wasn't trying to steal the shirt off their back at the same time. That is the concept of using a TEE to develop, is to make sure that what you're building is confidential for you, so you have the opportunity to continue to train and iterate and adjust your IP, train your model to make sure that it works.
I like what you said about the private IP aspect, because like intellectual property is it's very hard to define, especially when you're using other people's servers, and it's a little. I think nowadays it's more difficult to know exactly where your data is at all times, especially even as a business owner, or even as like a blockchain developer or a builder on a blockchain who wants to be able to host a service that needs to have additional defense and depth guarantees, or at least some compliance. And so you don't get a lot of this from the blockchain unless you're using like things like zero knowledge proofs. But zero knowledge proofs, they go only so far before you have to start getting guarantees that are a little bit more verifiable, so that we can actually scale the compute. Zero knowledge is very useful for like roll-ups, but then we can still use the TEE to prove statements that a roll-up actually, say, did commit to a blockchain. So very useful for like, layer 2s, and these layer 2 ideas for committing to layer 1, so that we actually use layer 1 as more of a security layer. Blockchain security is based on the incentive model. And so the incentives, when they're actually confidential, it allows for a more federated governance. And so federation is really important when it comes to any kind of decentralized autonomous organization. And so you'll see a lot of these organizations want to use Ts for their DAO structures, and then they want them all to be agentic, but they don't want the AI to know what exactly the compliance of what the DAO's earnings were. And so, let's use zero knowledge proofs to make the pool private, or to make our funds private, or to make the transaction private. And so then that's when we can use Zcash, and we can use all of the different tools that are in the ecosystem. But privacy versus, the verifiability aspect, there's going to be more things that you're going to need to prove in short increments of time. And so, edge compute has always been useful for like MasterCard payments, and for even satellite communications at this point. You literally see Netflix having to use edge so that they can just scale movies to people. So I think of, Ts as a way of scaling the compute, ensuring that there is compliance for operations on a governance level, and that actually helps the federation, or even like an Ethereum foundation, for example, to create a more protected environment for the actual applications that are running on the blockchain, since thousands of businesses literally rely on it. So I sound so passionate about it because I don't know. For me, I feel like there's a wave of the need for confidentiality. It's a topic that many people don't talk enough about, I think, in the States in general, about privacy and the meaning of privacy. It's even been sanctioned. So, and I think we're getting a lot of that back now. And with AI being so...
What do you mean by sanctioned?
Like Tornado Cash being, not usable up until recently, of course, and there's still like ongoing litigations with this, but still, there's so many things that you have to do in terms of compliance to still allow for private applications to occur. And so, you know, if we believe that privacy is like a fundamental right, then, you know, the way that you can at least secure it is using confidential containers. That way you can verify that like an operation that might be risky, you can still verify that nothing is risky at all, like a VPN. And, you know, there are technologies that you shouldn't use, but you really need for a blockchain. And so those rules will never not exist. You know, you still have to follow the law. But the confidentiality doesn't mean that you're doing something bad. It just means that you retain absolute privacy. It means that you absolutely know that my orders of operation, my supply chain is actually in check. So agent-to-agent operations. Yeah.
Well, and referring to like agent-wise, why would you want your agent running from a TEE? And well, we're super familiar with like keeping your keys secure and making sure other people don't have access to that. But when you use agentic workflows or any sort of agent and you start giving it skills and teaching it things, you're using many different keys, many different APIs. And so your exposure, your attack surface becomes greater and greater the more your AI knows how to do, unless your AI agent is in a safe environment to do so. So where you can manage your keys, utilize your keys with your own services, your own access, and then there's several layers of security that go into that. But in a really kind of a nutshell, is if it's in your TEE, your keys are safe as well. So you can use your key management system. You can, you know, send calls outside of your TEE, but the keys are still stored within your, you know. Yeah, you want to tell them about a KMS? Yeah. Okay.
So like, yeah, your cloud provider is usually using a centralized key management service, and so you basically often the controls to the actual provider themselves. And so we actually also now can even democratize the stack with a framework that still provides the confidential virtual machines. But those virtual machines are monitored still through a zero trust HTTPS. So you can access a container, but that container thankfully we can run Docker in that container. And so, you know, we get to still have programmability even in a confidential environment, which oftentimes is very difficult to set up. So unless you have lots of time and lots of dev, you know, power and energy, I think expenses are extremely high for especially TEE experts. And there's not a whole lot of them. And so, yes, the security guarantees that you're going to get from a TEE, you know, outweigh the cons, especially when it comes to decentralized finance. And so that's why a lot of Web3 business developers, they will aggregate towards it because of that.
Let's talk about user-friendly side. Yeah. So I would be like really curious to know the flow if we build SINT with Phala and Zeta. How will it work and what is going to change for the end user?
Yeah, so it's actually my favorite topic. Thank you for asking. And to be honest, like I'm nerd enough, but like when I'm like I was dreaming about this panel because we collaborate together, we jump together. But when these two guys talking about the deep technical levels, for me, I have a goosebumps.
I'm fascinated. So I'm gonna rewatch this recording and the stream quite a few times to get more technical. And thank you so much, Illia, for being able to translate as well for everyone who is watching.
I'm trying to put it into more like a human language. My experience more like a product side, UI, UX, and like building actually working UX, and that's what I'm bringing to the table with SINT, I think, to the industry, because I think that Web3 as well as AI actually a lacking good interface still. We currently in the perfect stage where that interface becoming alive, and I'm talking about the dynamic context-based UI UX, where you just say a command and you see the interface and you see the request done in a simple of not just click, but actually a voice command. And that's kind of like cool. So imagine that you have Siri, or I love to call it Jarvis, because for me Jarvis is the best example. You know, having like a Iron Man AI, right, that integrated into any IoT, integrated into robotics, integrated into any device, where you directly communicate to that AI. How you work with it? You say a command, and then you see the interface. It could be a projection mapping if it's needed. It could be a hologram. It could be any IoT device, but it still has the same brain, still has the same framework. It still has the same integrations, right? So any command that I ask could be executed super fast without, having any clicks. You don't need to have pretty much. You will have UX, right, for that, but it's going to be totally different, and that's what we're developing right now, because this is just like a new era of products coming to the market, and that's what we're building in SINT right now. For example, making a swap, sending the transaction, or having an interactive avatar with which you can communicate and you can customize. Then imagine that as many integrations you have, you can build any type of flows or any type of requests and experiences that you need based on the request you have. So in the perspective of ZetaChain and Phala, that we've been like modeling this, and we actually, I can't tell everything because it's kind of like a little bit secret right now, because we're going to be launching something really cool. But generally speaking, for the end customer, we want to build super simple experience where you don't need to worry about what chain it is, what server it is, what hardware is behind, what's going on. You just want to get the request done and in the best simple possible way. And you want to have a good result, and you want to be sure that your data that you share in your conversation, maybe it's your psychologist, maybe it's your AI psychologist that you're speaking to, and you don't want this data to be leaked, and you don't want it to be SEO friendly or shareable at all. And what kind of experience you will have if you have an AI psychologist, right? That's also part of the flow that we're designing at SINT. Because GPT doesn't have a good interface. It's still like, all the AIs have like a chat experience. Remember when the chat started? I think chat was in the 90s, right? That was like the whole idea of chats.
Yeah.
And we didn't step too much right now. It's like new AI era, right? But we're still using the same type of the UX that there. But then cross-chain transaction and Web3 is super complicated. Like simple example, try to swap USDC on ERC20 to USDT on TRC20, both stable coins. Try to swap it fast right now. For you to do it, like you're gonna open Trust Wallet, you need to use like any D-app, additional D-app like Simple Swap or something else. You need to log in the first wallet, you need to log in the second wallet. Then you need to also use the D-app that you're gonna find the best price-wise. So it's very fragmented flow that sometimes needed like 3-4 applications, and we currently in 2025 talking about the new tech in general. So that's type of problems that we solve with design and UI UX, because I just say a simple command, swap. We call Zeta. Zeta does the transaction, and Phala does everything secure and TEEs. So that's like in a simple way if you're gonna put it together.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. As far as like the settlement, so T's are very infamous for the settlement layer. So for AVS systems, so we so the settlement of these transactions that actually end up on chain, you can still create settlements across multiple chains in a single transaction, even if you can post the program, like say a Python program, and you're trying to make your settlement. The TEE almost still also represents as a way of still creating a smart contract. And so long as like the code is also open sourced, you can still verify the git commit hash. So you can even verify that, hey, this piece of program is actually also a part of my open source contracts. If this ever changes and you're verifying the execution of this contract, but it does not come with this remote attestation, then it just means that the program has changed, so do not execute. And so you now have a coprocessor for your smart contracts, but you now have programs that work like smart contracts in a sense that they are off-chain compute, but they still do not have the authority to shut themselves down or to also be peer reviewed by the pseudo administrator. So since they can't see inside of the confidential virtual machine, you can also put private keys as well to actually execute some of these values for light clients, for validation, for blocks, and also block production. And signing as validators means that you can also send transactions. So agents with abilities of private keys on chain would then be able to execute these promises in a fashion that would be agentic as well. So that's a...
Yeah,
I would just like, just in a second, guys, we have, we stream into the X, we stream into social, so I see that people commenting. So if you guys have any questions online or offline as well, I see many, many smart people here who can ask questions. So please welcome to ask, just to help it, to make it more enjoying and engaging.
Just to wrap it up, make it super simple. I know we're talking about super complex, very niche, different stories here with MCPs and with TEEs, oh my. But building on ZetaChain is really simple. It takes less than 5 minutes to get your environment spun up, to start building on ZetaChain, to deploy your first smart contract on ZetaChain, to send a cross-chain transaction. Even as a developer, getting started with the great team at ZetaChain, we have our lead protocol engineer, his name's Dennis. He built the CLI. He showed me how to use it. It's very fast. It's very quick. I had never personally started building on Ethereum that quickly. So it is an EVM-based product, but then the extensions, the functionality, like coming from a Solana background, being able to build, integrations for Solana that are Ethereum-based that give you access to native Bitcoin is exciting. And I'm sure it'll be exciting for ton developers, for Sui developers, for Bitcoin native developers to have access to the full gamut of what a Solidity smart contract can do across many different chains. So that's why we call it universal blockchain, right? So that's really coming from the next evolution of OmniChain.
Is OmniChain, is it another breach?
OmniChain is dead, babes. We're on universal apps now. That's where we're at. It's universal. It's a new word. It's a new narrative that we're driving forward because we have made interoperability more accessible. And it's no longer multi or omni. It's just one, universal. Boom. I heard a boom. Thank you.
Boom. Thank you. And is T slower than, is it slow?
Oh, that's a good question. No, it's a slight performance overhead, but the performance guarantee is also accelerated by GPU, so we can still run an inference. So you are now able to accelerate processing in T's using like NVIDIA TDX, and so this support using Intel processors allows you to run, like, say, private inference. So you can imagine this as a scenario where you have an open weight model like DeepSeek, or you have like a Quen model or whatever is available. Well, since the weights are already available, you can now have an inference, and so this is where you can create your chat. But now the actual communication between your model and yourself is now private, because you can also encrypt the information, have plain text basically show up as encrypted text in the GPU, and then you can also reveal the witness on your side. So whatever it is that you're trying to verify, you can verify it with your private key. So that's what an agent would then do. It would have a private communication with like a chat bot. But you at least know that the information's not going towards any one company or a vendor, and so I think that's a lot of the unique guarantees, because I think there's a lot of drama in the AI space, like what AI to use, what not to use. So I think this gives you more open source freedom, and I think the decentralized AI, we're sort of looking for more answers. So it's to answer your question, no, it's not slower. It's a slight performance overhead, but you at least get now the anonymity promise, which would have been even more expensive had you run just APIs and just lots of MCP servers. But now you can consolidate the process to just T's, and then they run pretty inexpensively. So in terms of expense, it's like, you can run them for at least $15 a month, depending on how much you need. And if you're running thousands of VMs, then you're going to be scaling your process. But we can scale these now to thousands of virtual machines, even for agents. And so the T is actually quite scalable. Actually, it's actually, there's a lot of things that you can integrate into the stack. So I think it's actually a quite good roadmap for where scalable T support will go.
Yeah. Well, Illia, do you have anything to add? By the way, are all the models, all the SINT models are private by default, or you have to switch between models?
You mean the LLMs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so LLMs, currently we're using a similar system like Poda, so we pretty much integrate in all the LLMs, and right now the orchestrator decide which LLM will be best use for the request needed. So for example, in case of like mathematical requests, it's going to be called an topic, or currently like OpenAI just launched GPT-5, like that everyone is probably going to be excited. So that one is going to be super cool. Let's see. Yeah, so orchestrator decide which one to use, and running it in the environment that we're talking about is going to be secure.
Amazing. Well, I have last round of questions, and then we can get a few questions from the audience.
Yeah,
as
we
well.
can ask questions if you guys have
Yeah.
any. We can pass you a mic. Just you can wave if you want to ask something.
Yeah. But meanwhile, can you guys tell us about your future plans? Like, you all are very smart, clearly, and visionary, and building amazing things here in San Francisco and Silicon Valley at the forefront of the frontier technology. Where do you feel your industries and the future is going overall? And let's say in the next 5-10 years, what is most exciting for you?
I can start.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm a dreamer, visionary, and in this case, I usually can predict and see what's going to happen. Usually, year or 2 years before it happened, and sometimes even like several years. So all the products that I see popular right now, I still have a documents that I was reading like 7 years ago. And that's kind of like cool, because when you work in building the products and you also understand the technology, you can model the future. And futurism is one of my favorite components in general. And that's the way how my brain works. I see if like the shortest step that the humanoid robots, I think it's an amazing step for humanity, and pretty much building the hardware. I'm as a designer, I'm always like to see things visually. That's why my agent has a face compared to all other faceless ones. So like, because I want to see visually, right, what is it, what kind of entity it is.
Like AI girlfriend?
I mean, I'm not the best product user for that, to be honest. But maybe some people would use it. I wouldn't be surprised, because so many people are bored. So many people don't have a partner, or they're lonely, and sometimes they need a girlfriend. They need a communication. Like, it's a bit off topic, but I found myself actually, talking with AI. Find myself speaking to AI when I'm driving a car, because I'm all about productivity, and I don't like to have a bullshit conversation. Sometimes you need to have them, but I'm like, what's going on? So I basically chat with AI, and I was like, hey, it's just like ping pong ideas, brainstorm together, and or you can run psychology session or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised like having a partner and like, hey, like flirt with the AI, and I'm sure many people do that. I'm not the big fan of like virtual sex.
What's your choice, ChatGPT or Grok? Because Grok can also call you bullshit, and ChatGPT will endorse whatever you say.
I'm building. I think like our avatar is cooler than Grok, and if anybody from Grok team see it, like please, I'll be happy to chat and brainstorm with you. That I think
Team Grok.
Team Grok, yeah, but interface-wise, definitely Grok. Communication-wise, hard to answer. I haven't played with GPT-5. To be honest, I've been the latest one. I was using this was O3 that I really liked for reasoning. But I wanna try GPT-5 right now, so I can get a better answer after that. And Grok was showing amazing results. I mean, right now it's just such a competition that like every week you can see something new, and oh, okay, let's try this, let's try that, and it's to be honest like hard to build in that environment. But it's also showing the such a rapid development is creating such a big opportunities and pretty much changing everything. It's quite exciting, even sometimes a little bit scary. Where I'm started was the question, the future, right? The future stuff. So,
humanoid robots.
Yeah. So the humanoid robots. So like I think that on the current step that where we build an tech and framework. Imagine that you can orchestrate IoT. You can orchestrate hardware and using the agentic protocol. So what it means, you use in a lab, you do a blood analysis, for example, and then you can pull the data sets from the hardware, then run them through the agent into any CRM or type of interface you need, and then that will be run by the agent. So it's very much like an orchestration of agents and hardware together in the same environment. Manufacturing, I don't know. Drones control, or even cars. So that's definitely the next step for the orchestration and AI agents in general. And then having the brain, the framework, and the integrations of that Jarvis, so-called, right? That could be, as I said, used in the Iron Man suit, or used in your car, or used in a helicopter. No matter where, it's going to be still the same entity. So that's where I'm mainly passionate about. But I want to just add last thing, because I know this guy's going to just say something really cool right now. But the main component, what I'm passionate about internally, and I'm hoping that I'm happy when I find people who synergize with me on that, finding the people who actually think about benevolence of technologies that we build, what the purpose and what's the final result. It's not just we want to launch a meme coin, pump and dump it, and just like have fun and like, I don't know, buy a Lambo. What's the purpose of all of it, right? Like what kind of life we live and what's happening with our planet and how we treat our planet, the sustainability aspect. And that's really, really big component in general in, AI topic, because you have to run a huge ton of electricity to run the hardware of AI specifically, and crypto in general. So we pretty much destroying our world, the natural world that we build. And then with that perspective, how we can save that. So my final, I was like the biggest goal, I would say, that build something that will benefit that and will help the humanity and will help our planet to survive, not just to move to Mars or other planets, but actually try to figure out how to keep Earth still a living place, and we can like go far from there, I think, not just with tech, but with everything else. And that's kind of like my internal passion, that very hardly executable, but I never find easy tasks for myself. So
I love it, this solar punk version of the future. Yeah, of course. Anyway, Dylan, are you more into dystopian future?
I don't have enough passion to mount to that. So I think it's a one step at a time approach, right? We have to get to the first part, which is to just get our framework, and then once we start building inference, we'll start creating these ideas, but these are workflows, and so not everything can rely on an inference. We can just build workflows that do these very specific calls that were just mentioned. So I would say, programmability is going to be more important, and how you build programs, how they interact with systems that are remote or they're on blockchains. Like, think deeper about how maybe you can build workflows that could actually be used as attachments, it sounds. So yeah, I think that's it's an interesting landscape of like, where does AI go from here in that sense?
I got a juicy take on this one, actually. You guys aren't going to believe me when I tell you this, but I've used AI to make accurate predictions about the future. And that future, it's all about the weather. It's all about the weather. They're using AI to not only accurately predict the weather of the future, but also determine the weather of the future, and then influence the weather of the future.
Terraforming.
You got it. I'm not going to go on a
That's
rant.
the next company we got to build is AI.
I'm not going on a rant about Mars or like building colonies on another planet. That's not my arena. But weather data is, and I think everybody will be working with weather data sooner than later. I know nobody's talking about it, but it's super true.
Tell us more. Is it like more like solar punk version or dystopian version?
What's the oldest AI you know?
What's the oldest? I don't know. Eliza?
That's cheating.
Siri?
That doesn't count. That's like this. Like, okay, for me it's Watson. IBM Watson, right? So since Jeopardy, Watson has been building accurate predictions for modeling weather data for the future, right? Because IBM owns the Weather Channel. So they're using a lot of data to not only determine what the weather is, where it's going, what it's doing, but also what it's going to do next. And you're recording that. You can. So just as much as you can influence data, which you all can, you can influence the weather with that data, right? But I won't go into Al Roker's weather machine or anything like that. We'll save that for another topic. But before I crash out here, I just want to say
Wait, we're going to have a lot of questions from the audience now.
Thank you so much for hosting us. If you have questions about Al Roker's
he just scared because Dylan just waved his hand. His question is going to be like, I'm going to ask him a mic.
Things I dare not say on camera.
Rosario here. You're right. If I made an AI like go on some kind of infinite loop and it just continued to consume resources, it would have to use a whole bunch of like, coal fire plants and natural gas and solar and so it could actually, you could by essentially letting
you've got
AI
supply chain data
go off
of
crazy.
Everybody on chain for the whole world, plus
you could
weather
consume all
data.
the energy in the space, and suddenly now you've changed the weather pattern.
Right.
Ouch.
And if you can if you can systematically control when those things are in operation, because you're the AI that also controls the supply chain. Okay.
Kawalec, what is the challenge right now for AIs to be secure on a usability level? There's a part where a person has to create some agent first, and then you attest to that. And right now, you're trusting that these agents are going to go into whatever LLM that you've decided upon, whether it's GPT-5 or whatever. And then the problems that we have is, how do we know that it's our agent that's actually replying to us, and not some man in the middle, bad guy? Where's the current state of the art, right? Well, at least the implementations that are available in the market. Where are they at with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. When you're saying the launch of the agent, that means it's I'm referencing it as if you are launching the agent, so it's your agent we're talking. Okay, so if I'm going to create my own private model and I want to be able to train my own private model, the key here is that who is actually hosting the model also has to be a vendor that you don't necessarily lock in with. So the data that you're actually siphoning between your private inference and then yourself, I would say this needs to be end-to-end encrypted. So most often it's actually just WireGuard. And so like basic VPN connections and also mesh networks, they work really well to still use IP v4 addresses. And so these TEEs, they can actually be dispersed across many Ubuntu devices. And so these end-to-end encryption channels, you can create private inputs and then also selectively disclose what gets decrypted. But the TEEs have what's known as a hard root attestation. So this actually can create private keys. And so you can actually make sure that the full end-to-end channel that you're communicating with is also, in a sense, zero trust, because the hardware does not necessarily need to be hosted by just GCP or just Cloudflare. You can actually host your own what's known as DStack. So this is, I would call it a state-of-the-art package or a library, but it's open sourced. And our job is to try to get it to the Linux Foundation to take over so that we can actually democratize the full virtual machine and confidential virtual machine with any hardware that you want to run.
What's the footprint on that virtual machine right now? What's the size of it? Gigs?
So you can actually scale it between it's 16 gigs RAM, classic SSD, so it's 100. So it actually it's as long as you have the Ubuntu Canonical 24 LTS and above, you can install open source into the Intel TDX. And if you buy your own GPUs, there are registries that are on the NVIDIA sticks for H100s and H200s, and also Blackwell and AMD SEV as well.
Can I run on my what's it called? George Hot's Tiny Box.
So that's kind of the angle, right? So you want to be able to localize your AI, and I love this idea because then you can train your own model, given that you have protected IP, but you want to be able to have a communication that is then completely encrypted, while also inferring references from open weights that don't actually take the data, which could also just be private inference. And so what's nice is that Intel TDX support plus NVIDIA creates a firewall so that all firewall communication between you and that agent is then protected. So you can locally train your model without actually giving away the data and how you're training it.
A DMZ for your data. Yeah.
But you should be able to scale this, of course, across many computers if you'd like, including with you in the interweb. I think it's very hard to do all the training and also all the inference locally, and it also is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So
Ilya, when can we run SINT in our pocket on a tiny grad? Was that in our pocket? What do you think of the hurdles are for SINT to run in my pocket on my phone or on?
Yeah, there is a couple of limitations still.
Offline?
Yes, like especially on the like on the XR side, because when you fully using like XR 3D, it's like pretty much overheating your phone. So you need to have at least the latest device, right? But then we come into the component of, do we want to use LLM? Like we're not using any clouds, right? So it's like the fully hardware-based LLM. That's probably going to be pretty, like, I think it's doable right now. It's just like a little bit of R&D, and it depends what we can fork. I think there is a way to use like some sort of like a small model that could be put it on a good phone, and then I think that it will work actually right now. But if you're talking about the full real-time conversation, full real-time data sets, and like amazing huge LLM like GPT 4 or 5, for example, that's going to be a bit tricky.
What, a year from now? 6 months?
I think, yeah, around a year and a half, 2 years. That's just like my prediction. Yeah, something like that.
So the ASR, inference, data, encryption, and then still processing, all running on a local device.
Yes.
It's going to happen a lot faster than. And this is just true. The Solana Seeker phone started shipping yesterday. It's got a built-in TEE, right, and a multi keychain, right? It's a hard wallet, right? It's got a hard wallet and a TEE running from the phone, and I think the design was in mind to show that we can run our agents from our phone, which I think is coming a lot faster than 2 years, maybe less than 6 months. I don't know. When are you guys gonna get your Seeker? In like a couple of days. Like it's gonna happen in the next couple of days. Because as soon as I get mine, I'm gonna put it on there, and then we'll be running it from on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Like terraforming.
And let's add SINT there for sure, because like I was actually talking to Solana mobile guys because I want to make a SINT as a Siri on there.
This week, like stick around, build with us, build something on ZetaChain. Like if it's not this, it's something else.
Yeah, what's your call to action to the audience and people who are watching us?
It's so easy to build on ZetaChain, but obviously the use cases can be very complex. So bring your ideas, bring your friends, bring your builders, launch the next killer app on ZetaChain, and watch yourself like ascend to Web3 stardom, like Olga and Celia and Dylan, right? And take the stage and showcase your product. And ZetaChain is a great place to be building right now.
Do you guys have support for developers, like
So
grant
much
programs?
support. We have grant programs. We have a huge team of developers that are ready to support you guys. We have pipelines on pipelines. If you've got a creative idea, it's definitely a great place to start showcasing your innovation right now. There is like one small caveat requirement. It's like include ZetaChain, build on ZetaChain, and it's really easy to do so. Seems that we connect to every EVM, Bitcoin, Ton, Sui, Solana integrations being are live right now. So you can bring your existing projects, create a new one, make them universal, not omni-chain or cross-chain. We left those words in 2022. Universal applications are for 2025 and beyond. What's up?
I was thinking about creating a clone of OnlyFans called D-Fans.
Save it for the workshop.
Is that legal?
So there.
Would that be legal on ZetaChain?
It's decentralized.
So there are applications like that running on Tees, actually, surprisingly. Not surprisingly.
D-Fans?
Yeah, like those types of things. Those have been seen, unfortunately. But
We gotta wrap this up. We're crashing out here.
We're just getting started.
oh man, what do I say?
What's your call to action, Bill?
Oh yeah, don't be worried that you don't have developer support. Yeah, I think it's all there for sure. We're not a company that necessarily gives grants. It's actually so that we can actually provide a roadmap towards safe AGI. We provide a confidential compute layer so that anyone should be able to have access to confidential compute. Our mission is to really try to bring in experts in T's to democratize the stack. You can find it at dstack/TEE on GitHub. It's open source. I would love for you to check it out, star it, and follow our work. It's been initially idealized by lots of different researchers in the world. Those at Flashbots, and we're partnering now with like Near and other AI companies that are also in the blockchain scene. And so if you're trying to build an AI and you don't know how to start, and you want to just start with an inference, and you want to just do an open source private AI inference, Phala has a lot of images that are online right now. You can just one-click deploy. DStack is the same user experience that you would find on Phala, and that's then open source. So you get the virtual machine monitor, and if you want to build your own cloud compute, and you want to help us actually create more support systems for more enclaves, that research is ongoing, and it would be great for you to help us so that we don't have to stick to one vendor. This way we can actually decentralize AI quicker and actually do the hard work, which is to provide all of the infrastructure up front. So DeepPin shouldn't just be gate kept. So think about it like that, and hopefully we can see you in the comments on GitHub, or commits actually.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, I'm so happy, guys, that we all together finally in this F. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. My call to action, super simple. I mean, whoever truly believe in real devs, creators who doing stuff, don't hesitate to reach out. We're launching product next week. So our application of SINT going live. It's going to be on the SINT.gg domain. Then we also open to bring new developers to our community, bring real customers and real users who are going to be our beta testers. Really appreciate our such a great guests for coming here, who actually are experts in the industries. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Come over more often. We're going to be running more events here in SF or in different locations around the world, and everything just started. So I'm just excited, guys.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to be here. And yes, built on Phala Network, on ZetaChain, and create SINTs. Thank you all so much. See you next time.
Awesome.